Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Aaron Sokol, and you're watching Parsha Inspired. My guest today is Rabbi Dan Tiomkin. Rabbi Tiomkin, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Rabbi Tiomkin, you've been traveling around the world. I've been trying to get you for over 8 months, and you're finally here. So what have you found on this world tour that you have done, speaking to educators, parents, and people dealing with children who are not fitting in? What have you found?
Well, our generation definitely has issues, new issues. This phenomenon is worldwide. It happens in Israel, it happens in the US, it happens in South America. And here in Israel, this is what I do all the time. I talk with parents because I realize that parents are not always the problem, but they can definitely a very, very important part of the solution. Because if they have the right awareness and the right set of tools, then they can do a lot to help those kids to do better choices and to become better versions of themselves. There are two different set of skills, two different set of rules in chinuch, in education. The first one is the classic one. This is the one we all know. We all were raised according to this set of rules, and we are fine, more or less. And this is what we know, all the regular cliches, which are true, חנוך הנער על פי דרכו, שמאל דוחה, ימין מקרבת, דוגמה אישית. We know all that. But on some cases, this set is not relevant. And says the Netivot Shalom, there's another set of rules in chinuch, in education. He calls it at risk, crisis chinuch. The goal is the same. We want our kids to make better choices, the right choices, to be the better versions of themselves as much as possible, but the way there is a bit different. Usually those kids have issues. You can call it in different names. Sometimes it's PTSD, post-trauma stress disorder, sensitive souls that been through, are going through difficult situations. And when this is the issue, and the parents are not aware of that, they think, what did this kid been through? We all been through that. We all died. We all had to suffer from, I don't know, whatever it is. But I turned out all right, and he should make better choices. It's not true. Sensitive souls can develop this PTSD even from small things. And PTSD, post-trauma, if I can say 2 words about it, I think this is the most important cause. All the others are symptoms, because there's a special part of the brain somewhere here, the executive function part of the brain. It's responsible for all the delaying gratifications and planning ahead and organizing and seeing others, people in the world. But if someone has been through a hard, he felt helpless situation for a while, and it's very subjective. Every soul has its own sensitive level. But when this part of the brain is not functioning well, this is what happened in post-trauma. A man goes into survival mode, this part of the brain shuts off, and all of the sudden, this person is not efficient, is not behaving well. The symptoms are very different from one another, but you don't have the brakes. The engine is 200 miles per hour, but the brakes are not working. And every kid, every teenager, every person, you can see it how it affects him. It's a bit different. For someone will be more aggressive, and someone will be on the other way around. He will be in himself, and someone will be very, very cynical and even cruel to others, and someone will try to please others. But the main core is the same. Something inside in the brakes, in the part of me that helps me control myself and doing what I don't feel like doing, but it's important to do. This part, this inner part, is a bit broken. No, there is no such thing as a bad kid. If a kid is behaving in the wrong way, something is wrong with him. He's in pain. And what is pain? It's not relevant right now. But if I know that he's in pain and he's in a way mentally ill, it doesn't mean that he's lunatic. Be'ezrat Hashem, he will be over it. But if I know that I am here to help him, then the set of tools that I'm using is not the one from education, it's from the one of Ezra Rishonah, it's from the health department. I didn't really choose to go to this field, but I was learning with the Arav Uri Zohar. Arav Uri Zohar was very, very big here in Israel, and I had the privilege to learn with him from over than 20 years. And the Rav Uri Zohar had some kids who went off the derech, they made their whole journey, and they all came back, and they all got married and built good homes. I always heard him talking with parents on the phone, but I have to admit, I thought to myself, it's not my style. This is not the rules that I know in chinuch. It was a big chidush for me, and I didn't really accept it. But when my oldest girl was always fine, but my oldest kid, Jonathan, when he became a teenager, he started to rebel. He started to do awful things. He started to be rude, awfully rude, and change friends and get kicked out of school, and more problematic and issues and problems. And we went crazy. We went to all the psychologists we knew, and we spent fortune, but things just got worse and worse. And the game changer for me, when my wife and I went to Ribur Zohar eventually, and we cried out and said, "Help, Atzilu, Gewalt." And he taught us some of his tools, how to show the kid to really love and accept him. It was very difficult for us at first, but it did the work. I remember I even went once to Reb Chaim Kanievsky, and I asked him to give a broche to my kid that he will be chozer b'tshuva, that he'll be fine. And Reb Chaim Kanievsky told me, refuah shlema. He blessed me that he will be healthy. So I immediately corrected him, and I said, no, he's healthy. I want a broche for shechzor b'tshuva shlema. And he said again, refuah shlema. And I said again, Rebbe, he's not ill. So he looked into my eyes and he said he's mentally ill. There's something wrong with his brain. Now, when he said that, I didn't understand what he wants. The kid was totally healthy, but he had bad choices. He did nasty things, but he was healthy. I accepted. He was my rabbi. Yeah, I started to daven on him on Refa'enu and not on Hashivenu, because I realized there is something that I don't understand here. Only a while later, I figured out why his ADHD, or maybe even ODD that he has, opposite defined disorder. He had it all over, but he was fine. When he became a teenager, it became larger and larger, and that became into PTSD, and that was my problem. And when I started to do the tools that Rabbi Zohar taught me, then everything started to change. Then everything started to get, I won't say it took a day and it was like a miracle. No, it was a process with very many ups and downs like any other process. And I'm not trying to change the whole world, because I don't think that our education system is wrong. We're doing fine, we're doing our best in whatever we can. But if you put trauma awareness into the system, then you get much less problems. And this is more important, when there are problems, you can detect them and solve them when they're still small. And that awareness is crucial and very, very necessary in our generation, because more and more souls are more sensitive. And even small things, I don't know why, even small things can cause someone to feel helpless, to feel all alone, to feel that he has nothing to lose. And today we have no Sambation River that separates us from the street. With 2 clicks, you can go wherever you want, more or less, or you can buy devices and do whatever you want and get rock bottom. And therefore, that awareness is very, very important. So I talk to teachers, I talk to therapists, but I also talk to parents. I think this is the most important. This is the most important people to talk to, because when parents know and look at their child and want to help him, but they have the right tools to do it, then the small balance between the boundaries and the love and acceptance is changing. And when that happens, then the kid shares, and the kid tells you and the kid wants to help themselves. This is the number one problem in any method treatment in the world. When you ask a CBT, FHT, ITT, EMDR, IFS, it's great, SE, any therapist, do you need cooperation with people who come to you? You will say, of course, without cooperation, I can't do anything. The first term is someone wants to help themselves, they go into treatment. The treatment, the therapy is painful because you have to go to dig in yourself, the pain, the trauma, the shame, your worries. It's much easier to drink a shot of tequila or to smoke something and to run away from your problems. To face them and to deal with them and to acknowledge them and to try to solve them, it's painful. And therefore, even the most efficient ways of therapy find themselves helpless when the person who comes to therapy eventually won't cooperate and runs away when things starts to touch the right point. But when the parents are giving the right environment and the kid gets empowered, and eventually if you go to the right kind of therapy who really knows how to solve trauma, then the therapy can be very, very successful. And I see it all over, and I hear many, many stories and get invited to many, many weddings when the parents tell me, when we first heard you, we thought our case is different. We're an exception. Things won't go because the kid is so rude, so uneducated, so risky, so bad friends. He turned the day into night and the night into day, and we're helpless. We're totally helpless. But once they try, and we took him to the best psychologist in the world and the best therapy in the world, and he wouldn't cooperate, and he just blended everyone, but he didn't really cooperate. But when the parents doing the right things and the kid feel safe and loved, it's process. But eventually feel he will feel safe and loved, and eventually when that happens, the kid wants to help himself and wants to cooperate, and then the salvation is close.
So I've heard of this concept called the love bomb, where a parent can do something that seemingly would be the exact opposite reaction that he might have had. And I wanted to know if you could speak about that, because it's very counterintuitive. And I think that a lot of people could benefit, even on a day-to-day basis, just even one time doing this type of self work can really change the whole dynamics of a Shabbos table or of, tell us about this.
Okay, it does require some introductions before because it is counterintuitive. The basics is like this. Chazal said, you always to have small docha and yamin mekarevet. Small docha, boundaries, discipline, structure, rules. There is no education and there is no communication with the kid without small docha. You have to have it. But on the other hand, you have to have yamin mekarevet, which is connection, to connect, to bond, to have an emotional communication. It's also necessary. And now this is our job to make sure with every kid, in any case, that we have enough small docha, we have enough yamin mekarevet, we have enough connection in order to the small docha to really be effective. Because if I'll tell a kid, listen, this is what my daddy told me, then it's 10 p.m., you have to go to bed right now. And I said, but daddy, I want to stay up more. I want to stay awake. I'm not a kid anymore. I want to stay up a little bit more. And sometimes he agreed. And sometimes he said, no, you have to go to bed now. You can't go out with those friends right now. Sometimes he gave me small docha. He gave me boundaries. And why did I listen to him? I listened to him, even though I didn't really understand him and I didn't really agree. But I did my scale. We have a good connection, and I see how much he takes after me, and he wants my best, not only my olam haba, also olam hazeh. And therefore, I have credit, I have trust, I have a relationship. I don't want to ruin it because of one night going to sleep earlier. Maybe tomorrow we'll talk about it. I'll tell him how important it is for me. I don't know. I didn't break everything because of and the connection was always stable because he always maintained the battery of yamin mekarevet, of the connection of and the trust and and the good relationship between us, that battery was full, and therefore I accepted the boundaries. And I think it goes intuitively, and even without learning about it, we're all doing it because we're all good parents, and we all want only the best for our kids, and therefore our connection is good, more or less, and therefore that battery is full, and therefore when we're doing boundaries, it's accepted again, more or less, but we're in a framework that things are working. When things change when those nice letters come along. Sometimes it's only severe ADHD or ADD, sometimes it's ODD, oppositional defiant disorder, or the most common one, the PTSD, the post trauma stress disorder. What they do, they change this balance. And now you need a whole lot more of connection and bonding to help the boundaries to be accepted. And I don't have a tradition. I don't have a way to win so much credit and so much trust and so much credit with my kid because I was not brought up that way. I don't know how many compliments can I give my kid? He will think it's itchy and it won't be reliable. It won't look good. I can take him to pizza. How many pizzas I can eat with him? Eventually, I will look like a pizza. I have the figure of a pizza. There's only so many pizzas you can eat a week. So there is one. Now the problem is when kids are in risk and there is post trauma, then the battery of that Yamin Mekarevet and the connection, the battery is not full. The battery is dead. And when trying to put boundaries to someone with a dead ימין מקרבת, dead connection battery, the boundaries are not accepted. The kids are always on the other side of those boundaries, and you find yourself not relevant. The kids are doing whatever they want, risking themselves with all kind of examples, which I don't want to give here. I don't know exactly who will hear us, and we have a big problem. So there is a very, very effective tool for those situations. It's not the regular one. In regular chinuch, go eat more pizzas. There's a whole, in my book, in Hebrew, it's called Basar HaMalachim. It was always also translated to Spanish and Portuguese and French and English. In English, it's called Unripe Angels. So in my book, there are like two different sections. The first section is regular chinuch, classic education, in which I'm not talking about those bombs. I'm talking about the regular methods to get the bonding and the connection in a bigger level. Talk to them, find quality times, bond, have fun, go to cool places, take a lot of pictures, eat together. When two people are eating together, then the hearts are getting connected. Chazal said, and many, many advices who are regular. And I don't think this is the real chidush, and this is the real besorah, and this is the real invitation that I'm giving. But the bombs, it's awesome. It's amazing. I'm not the one who invented it. I heard it from the Rabbi Fishof, who is really held from him, but also Rabbi Shimon Russell talks about it. And I heard that many Gedolei Israel, there are testimonies of many Gedolei Israel, Rabbi Osher Freund and the Chazon Ish, and Rav Steinman, who use this method. It's very, very sensitive, but I'll say its concept. When somebody is post-traumatized and there is no trust and there is no connection, even if you buy your kid a nice shirt or a nice perfume or a nice siddur, he wouldn't be really, really excited about it because he will say, hey, this is not a present for me. This is the present for the big tzaddik you want me to be. So you're trying to manipulate me. You're trying to change me. You're trying to give me something to change me to the right, what you expect from me. It's a present for your fantasy kid, not for me. And I don't really care about it. You can take it and put it somewhere. I don't care. It's not for me. It doesn't show you accept me. It shows that you want to change me. But if you give something that is against your values, against your house rules, then it shows you really accept me because it doesn't make sense if you give me something that's against your own values. And it breaks the walls of the hostility and the distance that the kid built. And that can make the change. That's like the starter. They can start all over. I'll tell you what was my first bomb that I did with my kid. When my boy was 14 years old, it's very personal here, but I'm doing it because you asked, and I think it's important. When my big boy was 14 years old, he went completely off the derech. My wife and I were devastated. We were shocked. We lost the taste in life. We didn't understand what have we done to deserve this, and we tried everything in our power and went to many, many therapists, and they all gave great, great, great advices that only made things worse and worse and worse. And then one day, Rabbi Israel came back from the US. He was there for a dinner somewhere, and he told me he met Rabbi Fishoff, and he told me you have to meet him. He talks about the bombs. It's such an important tool. I'm talking about it all the time, but he gave measures. You should go and hear him. So he was my rabbi. I went to Flatbush, and I heard Rabbi Fishoff, and he talked about the bomb, the concept that I just mentioned. But he said one more thing. And again, I have to tell about myself to understand how big chidush it was, but that's what changed my life and saved my boy. I have a big allergy for cigarettes. I can't stand cigarettes. My grandmother passed away from lung cancer. It's a horrible, horrible disease. I saw her choking and dying in front of my eyes for several months, and she was a very, very important figure in my childhood. I was 14 years old at that time, and she passed away. Okay, I moved on. Right after I got married, my wife's mother, my mother-in-law, got lung cancer. Again, this whole nightmare all over again. And they did a surgery, took out part of her lungs, and she couldn't, all her fingers got swallowed, and she couldn't breathe, and oxygen and morphine. Awful disease, awful disease. I hate cigarettes. I am physically allergic to cigarettes. When someone smokes around me, I get sick. I can't stand cigarettes. And when my 14 years old kid started to smoke, which is something kids at risk do usually, I freaked out. And I said, no way, no way. You are not going to smoke. I am doing everything in my power that you will not smoke. And I spied after him, and I shouted and yelled and punished and did everything in my power that that kid won't smoke. And of course, he smoked. And then Rabbi Israel told me about Rabbi Fishoff, and I flew to Flatbush, and I heard Rabbi Fishoff's lessons and his guidance about kids in risk. And he talked a lot about those bombs, that if you buy a present that's against your house values, that breaks the walls and make the kid make better choices, and the connection becomes bigger, and then later on maybe even treatment would be possible. And he gave many examples from the Chazon Ish and from Rav Ovadia and Rav Eliashiv, Rav Steinman, and the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and the Satmer Rebbe, Bobov Rebbe, I don't know, so many Rebbes, so many stories. When I flew back to Israel, I bought on JFK 3 curtains of camel light. I did it, my hands were shaking. But I bought 3 curtains. And when I came back, I gave it to my son with a letter that we love him and accept him just the way he is. He couldn't believe his eyes. He didn't believe. He checked out if it's not a gum or chocolate or something, because it doesn't make sense. Parents are buying me cigarettes. But that, I can say, was the game changer in our relationship, and from a place that he hated us and did everything to do the opposite and to ruin his other siblings, and really did awful things. The connection became better and better and better. Later on, he stopped smoking. Later on, he kept keeping Shabbos, and many, many other things, good things happened. Of course, there was ups and downs, but the main direction of the graph was upwards. And that's what saved our house. Now, there are many questions how to do it. There are some certain conditions in certain terms how to do it. I don't think that you should just hear this concept and do everything differently, and you should learn it more. This is the purpose of this teaser, not to try it on your own, but to get different guidance and to know that those risky situations require a different set of rules in order to get our kids better. And you can be in touch with me, with Rabbi Fisher, with Shimon Russell, to look more materials of us, or even, I don't know, it's okay to give my email
I'll
address.
leave it in the description. I'll leave it in the description. So, Rabbi Dan Tiomkin, this generation of children today is the generation that Be'ezrat Hashem will be greeting Mashiach.
Yeah,
And the parents of today are preparing the people who will greet Mashiach. So maybe you could lead us out with a blessing, a bracha, and we'll leave your information, the details of how to connect with you. If someone in the audience feels that they could benefit, there's the book that you have written called Boser HaMalachim. It was in Hebrew. In English, it's the Fallen Angels. It's the
Unripe Angels.
I remember when you were asking for a title. I remember I was part of the team. You were trying to translate Boser HaMalachim. How do you translate that? So we'll leave a link in the description about the book. So maybe lead us out with the bracha, please.
I'm not okay. Chazal said even when a regular person gives the bracha, it's a big thing. So I really, really wish all the best for everyone, and I hope we all have much, much nachat from our kids, and we'll help them in their own journey, and we'll be figures who help them to find their destination and become the best versions of themselves. And we all have a lot of nachat and shefa and yeshuot. Thank you very much for listening.
Amen. Amen. I feel like this was
wasn't that bad.
Yes, your English is actually very, I'm sorry. My English isn't so good. Your English was very good. Thank you so much. I feel like this was part 1, so maybe we'll be in touch. We'll see if we could do a part 2, because this was really just an introduction to the whole idea. Thank you so much, Rabbi. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very, very much.